Hi there, this is John Linneball of John Linneball Tutoring, and today we're going to talk about sentence completion questions. Those are questions that you find on the ISEE or other standardized tests. And you are definitely free to use this video or the questions that I've written for this video as long as you give me credit and link to www.johnlinneball.com if you're going to put it on the internet. So, some questions are fill in the blanks on college and or high school entrance exams and other ones that you might run across. When you run across such a question, the first thing you should do is read the sentence and guess what goes into the blank or blanks before you read the answer choices. So here's an example. Although John is blank at sports, he is excellent at academics. There are always hints in the sentence. Otherwise, it would be unfair. They can't ask you questions that are the equivalent of, guess what number I'm thinking of? So they're going to have to give you hints that let you know one answer is better than the other answers. For example, here, although is a contrast word, so we're going to be looking for something that means something other than excellent, maybe poor, bad, mediocre, average. It's something that either means the opposite of excellent or something that at least means something significantly different from excellent. So we'll move on to the next question here, or the next slide, I mean. You want to compare your guess to the answer choices. So let's see the choices that we have for the previous question. Fantastic, good, sesquipedalian, or mediocre. So we can go back and take a look at the sentence again. Although John is blank at sports, he is excellent at academics. So let's look at the answer choices. We can try putting it in. Although John is fantastic at sports, he is excellent at academics. Meh, that doesn't make sense. Those don't contrast. Fantastic and excellent mean the same thing. Although John is good at sports, he is excellent at academics. It could be. You could say, well, he's only good at sports, but he's excellent at academics. But let's move on. Although John is sesquipedalian at sports, he is excellent at academics. That sounds like a smart kid answer to me. That sounds like something kids I went to school with would say, oh, I bet John Linneball would know what this means, so it must be the right answer. It's a distractor answer. Sesquipedalian means literally being a foot and a half long, and now it's just used as an adjective pertaining to a word that means the word is excessively long. So it's a distractor smart kid answer. Be smart. Don't pick the smart kid answer unless you actually know what it means and know that it applies there. Mediocre. Hey, that's the best choice here. It means average at best. It means average in a bad way. It has a negative connotation. So while John is at best average at sports, he is excellent at academics. Hey, that makes sense. So we know the answer is mediocre. And notice that even if you didn't know what mediocre meant or sesquipedalian meant, if you could eliminate fantastic and good, you'd have a 50-50 chance because you've eliminated two of the possible answers, so you're down to just guessing one or the other. Pretty good odds, huh? This thing is all about context. All of these questions basically just measure your ability to deduce, that is, figure out word meanings from their context. Context means the words around the words or around the blank in these questions. You can also use this in reading comprehension questions. They might ask you something like, in line 3 of this passage you have read, the word sesquipedalian most nearly means, and you can figure it out probably. The child was precocious. He always used sesquipedalian words and other long constructions in his speech. And you might be able to figure it out. Oh, sesquipedalian must means he used really big words, or something like that. So you can use that when you read a word that you don't understand in your reading, in reading comprehension, anything like that. So, for example, while some people think this blog is floopy, I find it informative and entertaining. You're probably asking, I don't know what floopy means, John. Well, that's because I made it up. It's just a nonsense word. But in this context, you can look at it and say, okay, well, while is a contrast word, so floopy must mean the opposite of informative and entertaining, because people would say, oh, well, while it's this, I actually find this. They'd say, some people find this, and I also find this. So floopy probably means boring or not containing useful information. Let's move on. You want to know your contrast words. Contrast words are ones that indicate an opposite. So we're looking for a word in the blank that is the opposite of the words that are in the sentence, specifically the adjectives and adverbs, things that are descriptive. So although, but, contrastingly, see, there's a contrast. Despite, even though, however, in contrast to, in spite of, instead of, nevertheless. John is mediocre at sports, nevertheless he is excellent at academics. On the contrary, au contraire, mon frère, in French. That means contrary, something that goes against. On the other hand, rather than, still, surprisingly, yet. Those are all words, again, that tell you that the blank should be filled with a word that means the opposite, or at least something different from the descriptive words in the rest of the sentence. Another kind of contrast word is a surprise word. Surprise! If you see something like abnormal, abnomalous, curious, incongruous, illogical, ironic, or ironical, odd, paradoxical, strange, surprising, uncharacteristic, or unexpected, these all indicate the unexpected, something that might surprise or even shock you. So just as the contrast words do, the surprise words indicate that the blank should be filled by something that means roughly the opposite or just doesn't go with the descriptive words in the sentence. So you're looking for something different, or as they used to say on the old Monty Python show, and now for something completely different. All right, we'll move on. On the other hand, or contrastingly, you should also know your support words and phrases. These are ones that don't contrast. They go together with the other words in the sentence. So the word in the blank is meant to strengthen or emphasize a point, and it's going to have to mean the same, or it's going to have to be something you would normally expect with the words to which the support word applies. So and, additionally, also, again, as a result. Hey, cause and effect. I dropped something in water, so it got wet. That makes sense. I dropped it in water, so paradoxically it became dry. Well, you're saying, what kind of sci-fi world are you living in? So, besides, consequently, that's a fancy way of saying as a result. Furthermore, even more of this stuff happened. Likewise, in addition, it follows that, moreover, or therefore. Again, therefore means because of this other thing happened. If you see these words, don't pick a contrast. Pick something that means the same or goes with it. Don't pick something that doesn't mean the same or doesn't go with the words in the sentence. I dropped my iPhone in the water so it became dry wouldn't make sense. But I dropped my iPhone in the water and it got wet makes perfect sense and probably means I have to buy a new iPhone. Again, these sentences do have to give you enough of a clue that you can actually fill in the blank. So many times they'll give you a definition of the word in the blank as another clause in the sentence. So here's an example. William was a blank, semicolon, so that's starting a new dependent clause. Not dependent, I'm sorry, an independent clause. William was a blank. While he claimed to abide by the highest standards of business ethics, he placed fake positive reviews for his friends' businesses and also unethically gave high reviews to his own business on rating sites. So the blank must be filled by something that actually means person who says he or she does one thing but actually does something else. So you're probably thinking it's somebody who's a phony or a fraud or a liar or something like that, since William says he lives up to the highest standards, but he does these things that really aren't very honest and aren't very ethical. So let's look at the answer choices. William was an altruist. Well, let's see. Would an altruist abide by the highest standards of business ethics? Well, maybe. But he's someone who helps other people. So no, that wouldn't pertain to somebody who says one thing and does another. A proctor, well, a proctor is the person who watches you take a test such as the SAT or the ISEE to make sure you're not cheating, or if there's a problem, help you out, that sort of thing. So William wouldn't be a proctor because he says that he stands for the highest business ethics and then proceeds to do unethical things. And the last answer choice is a hypocrite. Well, look at that. A hypocrite is someone who claims to have one belief but acts against that belief and pretends to have virtues that he or she does not have. So yes, that's definitely the right thing. We all know what a hypocrite is, someone who says one thing and then does the opposite. Now we're on to double blank problems. Sometimes sentences have two blanks in them. You have to find them both. That also means twice the clues, though. So you'll have two words that you can look at and see if they're right. Here's an example. Marilyn was both blank and blank, always lying and trying to exploit people for her own gain. Both words have to be correct for an answer choice to be correct. A half-right answer, where one of the words is correct but the other one isn't, is still a whole wrong answer. You might have heard the saying, a half-truth is a whole lie. Well, that also works with right and wrong answers. Half right means whole wrong. But first, what do you think goes in the blanks? Probably something like dishonest for the first and plotting for the second one, because the first blank is probably going to have to go with the first adjective, lying, and then the other one's going to go with the first description, trying to exploit people for her own gain. What I mean is the second one goes with the second description. So the second blank will have to be something that means trying to exploit people for her own gain. So maybe plotting, scheming, something like that in the second one. Let's move on. Let's take a look at the answers we have here. And remember, the first word of the answer has to go in the first blank and the second word goes in the second blank. So the first one we have deceptive. Well, okay, if Marilyn's lying, she's certainly deceptive. And then let's look at the sentence again. Marilyn was both, okay, lying, and the second one is trying to exploit people for her own gain. Gregarious. Well, gregarious doesn't really work there. Gregarious just means you're very social, you like to be in large groups of people, so that's definitely not it. Let's look at choice B, incongruous. Well, incongruous, that means something that doesn't really go with other things. If we look here, incongruous doesn't work because that's out of place. And even though wily, choice B here, does mean somebody who is manipulative or somebody who likes to exploit people, someone who's very cunning, it doesn't work with incongruous because incongruous doesn't fit in the first blank. So remember, half right means all wrong. The third one, dishonest. Well, okay, if Marilyn was both lying, okay, and trying to exploit people for her own gain, then the first one, yeah, okay, yeah, dishonest would fit there. And then always exploiting people for her own gain or trying to exploit people for her own gain. Oh yeah, that's manipulative, that's for sure. Manipulative, literally you're handling somebody. You know, your manos are your hands in Spanish. And so that works. And now you're saying, hey John, Machiavellian and mendacious. I think Machiavelli, he was that guy from the Renaissance who was really manipulative, wasn't he? And mendacious, I think that means lying, like mendacity or mentiroso in Spanish. You are correct, but you're still wrong, and here's why. Remember, this Machiavellian would have to go in the first blank, and the first blank has to be lying. Machiavellian is not necessarily lying, it's manipulative. And mendacious means lying, but in the second blank, that would have to go with trying to exploit people for her own gain. And I know you're asking me, but John, how do I know that? I mean, we could have them in one order in the first clause and another order in the second clause. It's absolutely true, but the sentence wouldn't be parallel, where the first adjective lines up with the first in the first clause lines up with the first adjective in the second clause, and the second adjective in the first clause lines up with the second adjective in the second clause. So since there's another answer that has the same meaning and gives us a parallel sentence, which is choice C, choice D is not the best answer, so it's not the right answer. Remember, on all these multiple choice tests, it's not just a correct answer you have to find. You have to pick the best answer out of the 4 or 5 answers that they're giving you to do, or giving you to choose from, I should say. So how do you practice this? One thing you can do is you can learn your word roots. A good way to learn how to decode words you don't know is to learn Latin, Greek, and other roots of English words. For example, we all know that non means not when it's used as a prefix, so even if we don't know the root word, we can know that non means not for the root word. For example, using my made-up word floopy, non-floopy, even if we don't know what floopy means, we can say, oh, okay, well, this must be something that isn't floopy. It's not floopy. There are some sources of words roots for you to study. For example, the Learn That Word Root Words and Prefixes Guide. It's at this URL here, https learnthat.org, pages, view, roots, HTML. Suffixes are at the same thing, except it goes to suffix.html. So you can learn about the things that go before words, the root words, and the suffixes that come after the words. And finally, the Barron's SAT book. This is cheap because it's the older version. It's not the latest version anymore. It's for the old SAT. So you can get this for $1.99 plus shipping and handling online. I just looked it up on Google. And it has a very nice sentence completion section, so you can apply that to the ISEE or any other test that still has a sentence completion section. And it also has a very, very nice word roots section, so you can learn a lot, and it's very cheap. And would you like to know another and even better way to practice? Just read. Read books for pleasure. You can borrow books for free from any public library. You can read books that are around the house. You can get books from the school library. People give away books. Hey, we live in the Bay Area. People leave books out all the time. There's books everywhere. You can get books and just read them. You can read newspapers. You can read magazines. There's lots of free newspapers. There's lots of magazines available. And when you see a word that you don't understand in a book, a magazine, on a website, or wherever, you can use Google, you can use dictionary.com, or you could even use an actual paper dictionary to look the word up. You might be surprised about the etymology of the word, where it came from. You might be surprised about what it actually means, because a lot of times we use words with only one meaning when actually there are several meanings, or we think it means one thing and it kind of does, but it means something else. Okay, so these practices will help you not only for the ISEE, the SAT, the ACT, and other standardized tests, they will help you in life. Good luck, and please, if you have any questions or you'd like to hire me, you can email me at john.linneball.tutoring@gmail.com, or you can call me at area code 415-986-7355. Thanks a lot. Hope you're having a good day. I will talk to you later.